Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I am coming at you today with my official Gotham Knights release date prediction. This game was unveiled at DC Fandom on August 22nd. We are now a month and a day after that announcement, and a lot has transpired since then. The creative team at Warner Bros. Games Montreal has sat down with more than 5 publications to give an in-depth view into their game, the gameplay system, story, narrative, side missions, and a bunch of other information about the game. Now, I'm just going to say that that is something that is not common if a game is a long ways out. We saw, for instance, with Naughty Dog and The Last of Us, they didn't know when The Last of Us was going to come out. They came out and had that initial first teaser, and then we didn't hear anything for over a year. With Spider-Man PS4, it was a similar situation, and there were not interviews talking about, oh, this is what's in the game, this is the gameplay, this and that. So that should give us a lot of hope that this game is going to come out a lot sooner than we think. Now, I have a friend, Dustin. He's a co-host on the Anonymous Throwdown podcast with myself and a co-founder of the podcast, and he is an expert, in my opinion, with the video game industry. He really is spot on with his predictions, and he just knows a lot about this stuff. And what he had said is that he feels as though the game is going to come out between summer of 2021 and late 2021. So that's kind of looking at between the June, July period and November. I personally am leaning towards summer, and I think that that is the most likely because they also unveiled Harry Potter. Now, Harry Potter is going to be coming out in November for sure, and Warner Brothers is not going to want to double up and have 2 games come out in November when they can space out Harry Potter and Batman. By Batman, I mean not Batman, you know, because he's not in it, but yeah. You know what, guys? The thing about that is I'm curious to see how much Batman is going to be incorporated into the marketing of this game, because on one hand, a big part of their marketing strategy is informing fans that Batman will not be in the game. They really want you to know that, and they've been saying that all over Twitter, all over their press releases, and in their interviews with publication. I know Warner Brothers, okay? I've been around for a little bit, 6 years in this community, and if there's one thing that's true about Warner Brothers that I know about that company, is that when shit is not going the way they want it to go, they pull out Batman. That is their card. That is their Joker card, right? For the Joker, he has his ace. For Warner Brothers, they play the Batman card. That is their get-out-of-jail-free card. If their sales are looking low on their comics, hey, make a couple new Batman books. If their movies aren't looking good, hey, let's throw Batman in this DCEU. If their video games need to be spiced up, they make a Batman video game. That is their X factor. If they're feeling as though maybe the sales are struggling or pre-orders perhaps, of course not right now, I don't even think you can pre-order the game, but I mean in 2021 as the game gets closer, if they feel like, oh, these numbers aren't looking great, I can pretty much guarantee you that the Batman that we saw in the first 30 seconds of the CGI trailer is going to be plastered all across the marketing, and it's more going to be sold up the fact that he is maybe flashback mentor scenes or like other things like that. I think they're not going to change the fact that he's dead or anything, but they're just going to change the marketing strategy there. Here's the main reason we know that Gotham Knights is slated to be a summer game, and the Harry Potter game that they're releasing also in 2021 is slated to be a November game. Harry Potter movies have always targeted the November release window, and that is certainly the case with the Fantastic Beasts series, which is currently the Harry Potter movie series that is ongoing in a serialized fashion. There was a movie in 2016, 2018, and in November of 2021. The final installment into the Fantastic Beasts movie series is coming out. So Warner Brothers is big into video games complementing tentpole releases. I think for Gotham Knights, that obviously is not possible because there is no Bat Family movie or anything like that. But in the case of Fantastic Beasts and Harry Potter, around that time when a new Fantastic Beasts movie comes out, when a new Harry Potter movie comes out, people are more likely to buy video games or other, products and other things associated to that property. I know for me personally, like every time a new Star Wars movie was coming out, around like summertime of that year that the movie was coming out in December, between summer and December, I would get really into Star Wars, right? Like I would be big into watching YouTube videos about it. I would go back and watch Clone Wars episodes. I would watch old movies. I would see a lot more people tweeting about it. And then in the off years, Star Wars wasn't as big of a thing for me. I'd focus more on Batman and be more interested in other things. But certainly when you're getting close to a new Star Wars movie, when you're getting close to a new Harry Potter movie, your hype for that franchise intensifies. That's ultimately why Warner Brothers wants to pin pin the Harry Potter game to the same period that the Fantastic Beasts movie is coming out. And that's why both products are going to be coming out in November of 2021. So if we accept that to be true, that creates a whole nother issue for Warner Brothers, because they do not want to release Gotham Knights then in November of 2021 in that holiday release window, because at that point, your game is competing with another game that you're publishing. These are two games that Warner Brothers has, they've invested an insane amount of money into both of these titles and companies and games. So as a result of that, they have a vested interest in both of these games having room to breathe and dominating the market at the time in which they are released. If you release at the same time, then it's a matter of, okay, most kids for Christmas, they get 1 or 2 video games. They're not getting 10. They're not getting even 5. They're getting 1, 2, or 3 games. And if you have to pick as a fan of, oh, I can only get 2 or 3 games, well, number one, most people are going to be getting Call of Duty. They're going to be getting perhaps, FIFA or Madden or one of these types of titles. And then you might have to choose between, do I want a Harry Potter game or do I want a Batman game? And for some people, they might pick the Harry Potter game. And that means that that is a sale in which, if they space these releases out, you have one in summer, one in November, then you can reasonably sell a ton of copies of both games. But otherwise, you're just competing with yourself if you release both of the games in the November slot. So this is not exactly a scientific analysis of what's going to happen here. It's just like looking at the trends and what Warner Brothers has tried to do in the past. And again, gauging my friend who has really accurate predictions on this stuff, it does look like this game is coming out between summer and November. And given the context of what I explained with Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts, I'm personally leaning more towards the summer side of things. Now, the question is, will the game be ready by summertime? The game was released in terms of the gameplay footage to mixed reception. I think a lot of the gut initial feedback to the game was no Batman. We're pissed about no Batman. And that's one thing. They can't do anything about that. It is what it is. We just have to accept that. Right. But looking at it realistically here, the gameplay is a lot different than Arkham, and most people are not viewing this gameplay evolution as a level up from Batman Arkham. I think a lot of people, myself included, are happy with the fact that they are doing their own thing, they're building their own combat system, and frankly, resulting and taking a look at some of the criticisms of Batman Arkham Origins were that it did not do enough to evolve the Batman Arkham franchise. So now they're saying, okay, you know what? We're nuking the entire Batman Arkham free-flow combat system. We're building our own gameplay system from the ground up. The problem is, though, it definitely does look a little bit more like a RPG Avengers Project style game where you have more abilities instead of gadgets. And the abilities look to be a bit more cartoony in the game, which is just aligned with the art style that I think matches more of a comic book art style than a photorealistic art style that was, say, in Batman Arkham Knight. So that's totally fine. I don't have any issue with that. But I do think it's important to analyze and respect the feedback that some fans maybe are not going to love the gameplay in this game, at least not right away. I think that the gameplay looks pretty good, but with all of the mixed feedback that we have seen to the game, I'm wondering if they're trying to make substantial overhauls to the gameplay. Not implying they should. I haven't played the game, and I can't really say. I've seen, 5 minutes of back row gameplay and about 90 seconds of combat. I've seen exactly what you all have seen in terms of the gameplay trailer that was released over a month ago. And frankly, we didn't even get to see the UI. We didn't get to see what buttons are doing what. Are there gadgets being thrown? Are these abilities being activated? How exactly does the gameplay work? Is it something that is really, really striking a lot of resemblance to Marvel's Avengers in terms of the UI, button controls, and other things like that? Or is it something that is totally different and new? It's really just dependent upon the execution. And I don't think seeing the gameplay without the UI, without seeing what controls what and how exactly you do the things that are being done in the game, it's really difficult to tell if this is a level up or level down from Batman Arkham in particular. And more broadly, I don't think that Warner Brothers Montreal is trying to compete with Batman Arkham. They're just trying to do their own thing, but fans are reasonably and genuinely concerned if that is the right direction. I certainly could imagine a world in which this was a game that had Batman Arkham free-flow combat in the exact same plot that it has now. Batman's not in it, and it might not even be connected to Batman Arkham. Let's even say that. But it has that free-flow Batman Arkham combat, and the character models look exactly like they did in Batman Arkham. It's the photorealistic, Batgirl that we saw in the Batgirl DLC, that type of thing. Imagine that it was that, and it had Batman Arkham free-flow combat, and it had the exact same plot as it has now. I think a lot of people would not be as negative on it as they are. I really and genuinely do believe that a lot of the negative feedback for this game comes from the fact that it does abandon the Batman Arkham combat, and people are not liking the way the combat looks and the gameplay more broadly. But I think from Warner Brothers' perspective, if they are wise, they were expecting some negative feedback on this game. If they weren't expecting that, frankly, they're fools, okay? Because they should have known that as soon as you announce a game with no Batman, and especially because of the fact that we had thought for quite a while that it was a Batman-focused game, then people are going to be pissed. And even when the Gotham Knights thing was leaked about a month before the game came out, we were like, whoa, so it's Batman and the Bat family, that's sick, right? And it's not that. It's not. And I think that that's great, honestly. It's great that they're doing their own thing, and I want them to take those risks. But you have to recognize that that is going to lead to some negative feedback. I don't think that W Montreal is panicking, because I think they are confident in the product that they're offering. And they know that a lot of these concerns, that's partially why they did all these interviews, right? Is because they go on, they're like, no, it's not games as a service. It's not this. It's not that. It's not, live multiplayer stuff. And as a result of that, that alleviated a lot of concerns. And I feel like they're still kind of like, well, they don't really get the game yet. They have a lot to see. And they're basing their opinions off of a small sliver of the game. And it might be one of those situations where fans like it a whole lot more than they're expecting. Going back to Batman Arkham Asylum in 2009, that was a game that a lot of people saw, gameplay demos for, and they saw narrative story for, and it just wasn't on people's radar. People were not looking at that game as one of the bigger games to release in 2009. It was, by all means, a sleeper hit. And I think that for a studio like W Montreal, that is as big as it is and has as much talent as it does, they're looking at a lot of this negative feedback and viewing it as an opportunity. They're viewing it as, well, wait until they actually see what we're doing, because they've only seen a couple minutes of this. This is a whole lot more complex and better than people could even imagine, and we could even demonstrate in a trailer in just a few minutes, or that type of thing. And I'm not invalidating your concerns if you have concerns. I'm just saying that Warner Brothers Montreal and Warner Brothers hopefully are both in the position of like, okay, we've received this feedback, but we're also feeling good about what we have to offer, and we might, adapt to some of that, but I think parts of it they should also double down on and say, this is what we want to do. When it comes to making a creative project, no matter what that is, let's talk about video games. In this case, when you have too many hands in the pot, when you have different visions trying to inflict upon something that is a very coherent vision for you, that makes it so that it's not really good at doing anything. It just becomes this hosh-posh of random requests from random people and all of these weird stylistic influences on it. And what I mean by that is like W Montreal is trying to do something very particular here. They're on the same page altogether as a team. They're united in their goal to make Gotham Knights and to make this game exactly what they're showing us as it is. And then you have fans who are trying to, some fans are going to say, that's great, keep doing more of that, keep doing this, keep doing that. And then you have other people on the opposite side of the spectrum who are like, make it more photorealistic, make it more like Batman Arkham Combat, do this, do that. And everybody, for one bit of advice that you receive, you can receive the exact opposite advice from another fan sitting right next to that fan. It's like everybody has a different opinion. Everybody has different insights. And if you make a game by jury, if you make a game by committee, where everybody gets a say, everybody's at the table, everybody has their input, what does Slickmoff want in the game? What do, all of his fans want in the game? What do the Reddit users want in the game? What is everybody on Twitter saying? And then by the end of it, it's just become watered down. Again, it's just a game by committee. It's just throwing it out there and basically doing exactly what you're told to do, and all of the creative freedom is stripped from it. I think that we as fans should be very careful right now, because it is important to voice concerns. It's important to say, hey, I'm glad that you guys are doing your own thing, but here are my reservations, this, and this, as long as it's, I think, within reason. Now, if you just come out and are like, the game is shit, the game's terrible, where's Batman Arkham, then, you've already kind of lost them. There's not anything they can do with that. There's nothing they can do with, you should have made this game, It is what it is. They're making this game. Accept that and then say, okay, I like the direction that you're doing with this, but this and this are my concerns. Again, for me, it pretty much boils down to the gameplay and the extent to which the story is autonomous and the quality of the story. It might be good, it might be bad in terms of both of those aspects. I don't really know, and I'm not in the position to say, oh, this looks terrible, or oh, this looks great. And again, if you just basically go and just devolve your argument down to, it looks bad, or this sucks, this isn't Arkham. This isn't what we wanted. Yeah, I understand that. And I understand that this isn't necessarily what was at the top of your list, but we have to respect the vision that they have and really put faith in them and acknowledge that they have this strong vision and they've put a lot of time, energy, and effort in this game, and let them roll with it and just see how it turns out. And I really hope we get the game sooner rather than later. You know, if we could get it between May and August, I would absolutely love that. And I hope that we do. But of course, you know, we've waited this long. We can wait a couple more months, whether that be summer or late 2021. But I am really, really hoping for that summer period, because it's September right now. It's important to keep in mind that August 2021, that is summer of next year. That is 11 months away. You know, that's a long time. So for November, we're looking at a year and a half, roughly. So I'm really hoping that we get the game sooner rather than later. And in the comment section below, let me know how you're excited for this game from 1 to 10. If you had to say 1 is you're not excited at all, 10 is you're extremely excited, give me your ranking in the comment section below. And that is how I will know who watched all the way to the end. Shout out to all my elite members. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.